Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. In this video, I'm going to talk about a security and security around the Okta, right? So mostly the Okta is a product of identity and access management, but there are so many capabilities that we can configure and make sure our whole subscription and user base groups, identities, including applications and services and everything is safe and secure, right? So I'm going to show you few of the general security in this video and how we can configure those. What are those capabilities that we can configure as a brand new tenant or brand new subscription when we sign up for the same, right? And how it is going to be help. And definitely it is not a one-time activity. It is going to be a continuous improvement activity for the companies and organizations, right? And there are many different pros and cons to it because each and every organization is different and unique, that they wanted to pursue different capabilities across the organization to make sure that they are going to use those capabilities because of XYZ reasons. So there are many reasons to pursue those opportunities or pursue those capabilities out of the platform, right? Now the question is like, if I have to configure a certain number of policies at configuration, right? Do I really need to configure XYZ policies? And if not, then what are the other ways or other options for us to, right? And there are both sides, whether we should do it or whether we should not do it. And what if I don't configure, what will happen? And what if I do configure, and what if I do not configure, right? So both of these has different sides, and definitely there is a way to do it and balance between both of those sides, right? And by doing the balance, definitely we achieve a lot more in the situations where we don't want it to get into that, and we can achieve the respective goal that we wanted to achieve, right? So let me go ahead and share my screen and show you what I am talking about and how we can configure it all, right? So I'm here on the Okta portal, right? And you can see that in the Okta portal, I would simply show you uh, about the general settings that I'm going to talk about. So under security tab here, there's a section called general, right? So if I click on that, you will see a lot of security options under general. So under general, which has security notification emails, right? And then CAPTCHA integrations, that is for enabling the users verification and authentication as they are the humans and not the computers or bots or systems who are trying to get into the system, right? By using or by trying to entering the uh, credentials. Those are not correct credentials, but still those will try to get into the system, right? And those are kind of the systems. For example, there are malicious bots. Those are intended to do the harmful activities on the systems when they try to enter the credentials and then get into the system. And those are something, this is when there is a way for us to integrate the CAPTCHA, right? And then there is organizational security as well that we can enable. There are few of them are already enabled, and most of them are enabled, you can see right here. And then user enumeration prevention, then protect against password based attacks, then Okta ThreatInsight settings. So these are the few of those capabilities that we can configure from the day one, right? So assume that I have this tenant uh, provisioned, right? And this is a brand new tenant, and I'm trying to ramp up and set up this tenant for my organization. And this is where I would start building the baseline security policies or baseline security on the tenant side, right? Before bringing this tenant into the production or for the organization's usage, I need to make sure this tenant is ready for me. And also the tenant has all the baseline security, at least the minimum or at least the medium security before making it to public, right? Public as in across the organization, right? So gradually I would move ahead with the different settings and policies and configurations, of course, basis on the organization needs, basis on the organization policies, be it compliance policy, security policy, how we wanted to target users, groups, and then device identities, and all those different identities that I'm going to use across the organization, right? And all of this is going to be really be at the top and at the center of the organization, as Okta is being identity and access management solution, right? And this is where we really need to think about this, how we should make sure this is used appropriately, and we need to make sure it is working as expected as well, right? So this is when we have to start working on building the baseline security capabilities on the tenant, and then move ahead gradually, right? And definitely there are both sides, as I said, and both decisions to make on whether we are going to move with this particular policy, and how that policy and security measures is going to help us to move ahead with the certain configurations, whether that is going to be helpful for organization, and how we wanted to make sure that is going to be used across, whether that is going to be a barrier for users to access particular application, a system, or it is going to simply help users. And it should not be the case where people are fully confused, they are not able to identify, or maybe they are not able to get into the system, what they need to see, what are the expectations of it, right? And we also need to make sure people are trained on those situations. Trained as in what? We need to make sure they have the right set of resources to go through, let them learn different things about this brand new platform that we are going to launch across the organization, and let them go through and learn, explore, and let them reach out to the respective team where we are going to help, or we need to offer them the help as well, right? So this is something, there is a lot to discuss and lot to plan, and do the assessment and start with the pilot group, and then once we are confident enough, then we need to move to the uh, another pilot group, maybe, if in case that is something which is not really ready, or people are still not yet confident enough to get into the system, and it is not easy for them, right? So we can do that as well, right? So let's start with the first option here, which is security notification emails. So there are bunch of options you can see, and many of them are disabled currently as an initials or at the start, right? As a brand new tenant, right? And you see there is only one option enabled, which is report suspicious activity via email, right? So this is something, this is enabled by default, and this was not changed or modified at all. So you can see the remaining options are disabled. So we need to make sure those are enabled. So I'm going to click the edit button and enable those, right? And then increase the initial baseline of policy, right? So this is saving now. That means it should be enabled for all of those options. Now, there is a question, how do you know, or how do you judge, or maybe how do you understand whether these options are going to helpful for me, for users, and for organization overall, right? So by looking at all of these options, which says that new sign-on notification, email, password change notification, authenticator, enroll notifications, and authenticator reset email or reset notification email, right? So all of these are very important for users, for IT, for the team who is going to manage these all things, all right? And this is when there is a point at the end, or this is going to be the initial as well, where we need to educate users and people who really need to look at those email communications that is going through the systems to the end users mailboxes, right? And that is why we need to make sure these options are enabled, and even the end user education is a part of that change. So overall, this is going to be kind of a change management for the whole organizations to look at and understand, and they need to get the help as well as and when needed. So let's move to the next option here, which is CAPTCHA integration, which is a kind of a second layer of authentication. You might have seen this CAPTCHA or CAPTCHA authentication way on multiple websites, like if it is a specific website for job, right? A specific website for a registration of any online courses or trainings and something like that, right? So those are the websites, they have integrated the CAPTCHA capability to make sure the people who are actually trying to get into the system or log into the application, those are humans and not the bots or computers or the malicious activities happening on the website, right? So that is when CAPTCHA integration is something that is additionally making sure and verifying that application and the people who are trying to get into the system, those are humans. And this is when we wanted to prevent those kind of activities by trying to get into the system, and definitely that is not expected at all. So to enable that one, we can simply click on edit here, and then we need to select CAPTCHA type, hCaptcha and reCAPTCHA v2, right? So there are two ways. So we can select any of these, and we really need to bring site captcha, site key as well as secret key, and those would be added here. Also, we need to enable CAPTCHA for sign up. So when user is trying to sign up, then we can enable for password reset, and we can enable for sign in as well, right? So I'm going to create another video for this method to enable or integrate CAPTCHA integration, right? Because this is really helpful for the organizations to protect the user authentication, user activities on the login page, and then Okta will not reveal any these details. Here is the notification which says that whatever the site key and secret keys we are going to add here, those will not be revealed anywhere, definitely, right? So Okta is going to make sure those are safe and secure, right? So this way we can enable that one, and it is going to be really helpful for the organization and users overall. Right. Next is organization security. So in this section, you see many of them are already enabled by default, and that is the uh, Okta's baseline security, we can say, and that is something Okta has enabled by default for us. We don't need to take any further actions. But definitely, if in case we wanted to change any of these two options under this option here, and then if we wanted to change additional settings, let's say I go here and click on edit, you can see enabled, not enabled, right? And then I have option to change these two options, right? And then I can change this duration from 1 hour to 180 days. So what it is, activation emails are valid for number of times or number of days, activation emails. So those emails which are sent by the Okta system to the end users, and those emails are active as in the link which system has sent out to those user accounts or users, it is going to be active for those number of days only. And once that days are passed, that means the link and the invite is going to expire automatically, and that link is not going to work for users at all. So this is also very important to know and consider during the rolling out of this capability or rolling out the Okta system for whole organizations, and make sure we have to take the appropriate steps and actions before. Next, you can see enforce device matching for creating sessions. Like there are different options like enabled for Okta only or enabled for all identities, IDPs, identity service providers. So here we can decide which one is to set up. So currently and by default, it is set for all identities and not only Okta, because Okta is looking to bring all the identity platforms together, and it should also help organizations to bring on other and use it, and not enforcing the Okta only. The next is username match criteria on sign on. So here we have options to select whichever is going to be the right option. For example, allow short match or and match entire username. That means while logging in or while signing up, it should match the initial names or initial characters, and then it is going to validate that it is going to be valid, correct or not. Next, we have users can view recent activity and user use standard AMR value formats. So you can select enabled or not enabled and on the both side. So recent activities including enabling this feature allows users to review recent sign-ins and security events on Okta and user dashboard. So this is on end user side, what they can see on their regular activities, right? When they sign into the laptop or device, or maybe the application dashboard on morning and right, and they will see what activities are happening in the whole day between morning, afternoon, and night, and all those times. So for now, I'll keep as is, and then click on save button here. So it will simply save, and we don't need to change anything there. The next is user enumeration prevention. So when this feature is enabled, the organization is protecting against attackers who are trying to attempt to identify user accounts and authenticator enrollments, right? And every new device login will show the password and email if the email authentication is allowed in the organization, right? And then if the user does not exist or cannot log in, they will receive an authenticator notification error as well, right? So this is also very important to set up what level of recovery or authentication we wanted to set up. So we can select both of these options on different enumerations or different requirements, and then we can enable it. So here is the description. What it says is, when this feature is enabled, your organization is protected against attackers who attempt to identify user accounts and authenticator enrollments, right? Every new device login will show the password and email if email authentication is allowed in the organization. And if the user does not exist or cannot log in, they will receive authentication validation error, right? So this is something, this is also very important capability and feature to make sure use of this, and we can use this for enumeration and preventions. So let's go ahead and save it. Perfect, that is saved. And next is protect against password-based attacks. So there are two options, and both of those are disabled as of now, but we can go ahead and set it up. So first is a required possession factor before password during MFA. And second is block suspicious password attempts from unknown devices. So this means that when we have, or when user does not have the possession before password during MFA, that means if user does not have any password, it is going to simply block, and they won't be able to verify their identity with a possession of factor before the knowledge factor. So this means that they must have at least password and security questions with them, right? And then second is blocking suspicious password attempts from unknown devices, where user or anyone who is trying to log into the system and all those activities is going to be blocked. So let's go ahead and we can enable those features here and click on save this. So those are saved. And last option here is to enable Okta ThreatInsight settings, right? So this is something, this is going to require authentication requests from specific IPs, which IPs exhibiting suspicious behavior that suggests malicious activities can be logged into the system logs, right? So there are different actions that this feature is going to take, which is basis on the options which we are going to select and configure. So there are three options, and also there is an exempt zone that we can configure. if we wanted to exclude a range of IP addresses. So the first option says that what actions you wanted to take when Okta identifies those IPs are not valid or maybe incorrect, right? So let's say if you wanted to take no actions, then there is nothing to happen. If we say log authentication attempts from malicious IPs, second is log and enforce security based on threat level. And then we can add a range of IP addresses that will not be logged or have actions enforced based on the threat level by Okta system or Okta ThreatInsights. And these IPs will proceed to evaluation by sign-in rules, and then we ensure the traffic from known trusted IP is not flagged by Okta ThreatInsights, right? So this is going to simply let the traffic in, and for those IPs which we are going to whitelist here, right? So for now, I'm not going to add anything. Rather, I am going to save this change as is, and we should be good here too. But I wanted to make sure the authentication attempts from malicious IPs is tracked and logged so that I can go ahead and see what is going on there, and I can see and take the appropriate actions, right? So, yep, that is all for this video. I wanted to show you and talk about and understand what is needed, right? And how we can make sure the initial configurations are done, right? So yeah, that's all for this video. Hope you will like it. Please do like, share, and subscribe, and also watch the whole series that I'm working on. And I'm going to make more videos on this series, which is Okta series, right? And then also I have created many videos on Microsoft 365, Azure, then FinOps, right? And this is the Okta, which is a fourth. Also, I have created videos on Microsoft Entra ID, SharePoint, and Teams, and all other different products, right? So do visit to all those series and watch out, and definitely you will learn something new, right? And yeah, that's all for this video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.